Okay, well, I think today the market moves that we just heard about, that's really because the CDU did a little bit better than was expected last week. So I think markets are adjusting to that. I think the really interesting thing is, firstly, how long this is going to drag on. I mean, my guess is we might still have Merkel at Christmas. So I think we could be looking at a really, really drawn out coalition negotiation. And my hunch is that the SPD is actually going to come out on top here in a traffic light coalition. But I guess it's become much more the interesting new thing that I hadn't anticipated is how badly the left would do, because I thought running into this, the SPD would have more coalition options than the CDU, because they have said they don't want to, but they did say they were prepared to go into coalition with the left. That's now not available to them. Left didn't get enough votes. So in fact, you're looking at this straight face-off between the Jamaica coalition and the traffic light coalition. I think the SPD will pip that, but it's going to be incredibly close. But if you look at voting, the way the voting's changed, it's very clear that voting overall in Germany has swung to the left quite markedly. So I think that's going to set the tone for the next few years. It does feel like a slightly more left-leaning electorate than we've had over the last few years.
All right, Robin. Well, let's just draw upon what you just said there. What does it mean for European leadership? And of course, Brussels hanging on every word at the moment. There are certain people in Paris and Brussels, I know for a fact, would love to see more common bond issuance, would love to see more integration. There's a scenario with you see panning out with the SPD potentially forming a government. Does that lead to, or does that calm the fears of those who are worried about the Germans pulling the rug on more integration?
I think it probably does to some extent. We mentioned earlier in the set since the top of the hour that this was likely to be a government which was going to struggle to get things done. And I think that's probably going to be one of the overwhelming features of the next few years, is that a three-way coalition doesn't feel like a government which is going to be hugely decisive. So while it might lean to a bit more EU integration, it might lean to a bit more EU bond issuance, I don't think you're going to see particularly strong leadership full stop. It just this type of electoral leadership isn't going to deliver that. So while I think the mood music is going to be a bit more positive towards some of the things that the EU wants, I think the ability of the German Chancellor to act decisively, that's going to be pretty constrained. So I think at the margins, they deliver a little bit more of what Europe wants. But I think the idea that Germany is going to be playing a very significant political leadership role, I think that's been ruled out by this election.
Robert, can we talk a little bit about Olaf Scholz and coming up to the campaign? He was seen as Mr. Fix-It. He painted himself as the continuity candidate, even though the Conservatives were pretty keen to say he wasn't that continuity candidate, effectively their own candidate. Laschet was. But what do you make of the campaign he's run and what sort of chancellor he could make if he does end up with that role?
I think he's run a pretty decent campaign. I mean, obviously the SPD have done incredibly well. In the CDU, this is a very disappointing result for them. Better than they expected last week, but worse than I think they would possibly have imagined over the last few years or so. So the SPD, I think, has done really well, and Scholz has, I think, positioned himself very effectively. The problem that they're going to have, of course, is he's going to govern in coalition, and he's going to govern in coalition almost certainly with the SDP. And the FDP are anti a number of the things that the SPD would want to put into place. So I think you're going to see those internal tensions. I think the alignment of interest between the Greens and the SPD, that's very clear. But having the Liberals in that coalition as well is going to mean it's quite difficult for him to be as decisive as he wants to be. So yes, I think on the basis of it, as a personality, would make a good chancellor. But I think the coalition that he's likely to be running is going to make it difficult for him to be as decisive as he'd like.
Hi, I'm Joanna Bersecci, and thank you for watching. You can check out more of our videos by clicking on the boxes on the screen. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more from CNBC International. Thank you for watching.